you watch Board of Health yesterday?
I didn't. My internet was all weird.
Oh.
I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
Enter your pass. The password you have entered is invalid. Please try again.
Today you're not a leader.
You are now a leader.
Now.
Record your name after the tone.
You are now.
Press pound when you are finished.
What does that say?
Good morning.
What does that say?
Says, I phone Gary Edwards.
Oh.
By the way, Robin, while we're waiting, I had a good conversation with Nancy yesterday. It was really good, and I really appreciate her input. And we're going to talk some more.
Got it.
Thank you.
She is definitely an expert when it comes to that stuff.
Yes, she confirmed a lot of information I already knew, but sure, her confirming it helped. And then she gave me some information I didn't know about limits of words and things along those lines. So, and she's going to help with some drafting of language, but she was really helpful.
That's great.
Can you adjust the camera?
Robin, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, Commissioner Edwards.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
afternoon. Good
Afternoon.
Good to see you join us via Zoom, Commissioner. That's great.
Yeah, I'm getting modern. As much as I don't want to, I have to, I guess, huh?
It's all good. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. Am I on screen there, Romero?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Can you see my dog?
Yes, we can see your dog.
He doesn't think much of the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that will be a nice background.
Yeah. Well, it'd be better than me. I agree.
Like that was a background comment, no foreground. Commissioner, we have a quorum, so whenever you're ready.
Okay, and is this a public meeting on YouTube as it says on the agenda?
Yeah, we have to open that up, yeah.
Okay. I'm ready then. Commissioners appointed directors meeting for Wednesday, January 13th, 2021. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board, County Commissioners. On video, a rare treat, Commissioner Gary Edwards.
Yeah.
Rare treat only in terms of the technology. Mejia is walking into the courtroom. I'm not going to go around and introduce all the directors because we're going to go one by one and not meet them, but have them give a report on what's going on. Public attendance, you can follow along on Thurston County YouTube channel or join in by calling 360-252-9020, pin of 1234. And we're going to start with Shelley because she has another obligation with Department of Health. So our esteemed Director of Public Health and Social Services, Shelley Slaughter. Shelley, what's going on?
Good afternoon, Commissioners and all my fellow colleagues. It was just, doesn't seem like long ago at all since I was with you and provided an update on COVID-19, but that's where I will start. Today, we have 53 additional cases, bringing our COVID cases to 5,561. We did have our Board of Health meeting last night, as you know, and it was a very challenging meeting, and Dr. Abdimalik and I did have a follow-up meeting with our superintendent this morning, and you can expect a communication to be released tomorrow, detailing dates as to when schools will be expected to return. Most of the schools have released those communications to their dates to parents. Happy to, for anyone that wants to talk to me individually to answer any questions, I'm happy to do that. In terms of vaccines, you heard a lot about vaccines as well. To date, we have, for the unaffiliated providers, issued 1,275 vouchers. That's in addition to the vaccines that have been administered to the affiliated hospital and healthcare partners that have vaccine. So that is good news. We're getting more of our 1A vaccinated. The meeting that I'm going to next is to discuss plans with Department of Health on expediting phase 1B. So hopefully I'll have more good news about that and what we can expect soon for more vaccine sites. We also are planning a series of clinics to complete 1A, and then we'll be moving to planning for the 1B. And we will have vaccine sites at Lily Road, as well as at Fire Station in Lacey that we will be holding clinics, and at school districts as well. So more to come on that, but we expect to be releasing details about that really soon too. And that's all I have.
Commissioners had a lot of time with Shelley yesterday between COVID-19 update and Board of Health agenda setting and a long Board of Health meeting. Do any of the other directors have questions for Shelley? No? Okay, Shelley, go forth and get those teachers vaccinated for us.
We're trying.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great meeting, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Shelley.
Shelley.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go in the order of my screen. So Dennis Osorio, IT.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dennis Osorio, IT Director. So we're still just working through some of our larger projects. One of the big ones is the court video system. I think we've got a lot of the stability issues done, and now we're just doing all of the configuration, finalizing all the configurations, which we did some additional ones last night. So moving that JABS project, which everyone here has heard of over the last 6 months, trying to get that to the finish line. In addition, we're working with Patrick, Public Defense, and the prosecutor, moving the JTI project forward, case management. We hired another one of our vacant positions, which was our IT administrator for Laserfish, which has been vacant for quite some time. So that person will be starting on February 1st, which I know that there's a lot of work pent up for them, specifically also for the courts. What else? Let's see. We had another meeting yesterday about the permitting replacement, and we are moving forward with doing some reference checks on the consultant that we may be using to assist us in that replacement, and also looking at contracting to see if we will need to go through a competitive process on that. So that project is also moving forward. And then we're just doing a lot of housekeeping, finishing up evaluations for everyone in the department, and dusting off the strategic plan, which we had just about finalized before the pandemic hit, which I'm sure a lot of folks had. And now we need to go back to the drawing board on many aspects of that. And also trying to finalize a formal DR plan for the county, which we'll be bringing up through our normal chain through the ITC.
DR plan?
Disaster recovery.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, disaster recovery for the county. I know there's an outdated one, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion about it, because often it's what systems are going to come up first and what systems are going to come up last if a disaster was to occur in the county.
Questions for Dennis? And Thanks, Dennis. I assume folks have met our new commissioner, Carolina Mejia. Maybe there might be one or two of you that are still haven't. If that's true, I apologize for not formally introducing her. Commissioners usually go at the tail end, Carolina, to say whatever they want to say. So you're thinking about what you want to say in case you haven't met any of these folks. Hopefully you've met most of them. I'm going to go to Curt Hardin next on my screen.
Good morning, or actually, I guess good afternoon now. Couple of things. First, I'll start with emergency management. By the way, Curt Hardin, Director of Emergency Services. For emergency management right now, what we're working with is the weather systems that have come in over the last several days. So I wanted to give an update. As of this morning, there are 32,000 customers without power in Thurston County. Puget Sound Energy is working to restore that, but the storm produced extensive damage to the electrical system, and Puget Sound Energy is bringing it out of the area crews, and they've started, they're utilizing helicopters for damage assessment. They started that at daybreak this morning, and they've established staging areas in Thurston County for their crews. But it appears to be a multi-day event to restore power across the county. The rivers within Thurston County remain, some of them remain at flood stage. The Skookumchuck River is at minor flooding. The Chehalis River is at moderate flood stage. And the Deschutes River is approaching and will probably make a minor flood stage today. We still have small stream and urban flooding occurring or has occurred at locations throughout the county. But there doesn't seem, or we're not getting reports of increased impacts due to the increased river levels or the rising river levels. So we're hopeful that that will remain. And then also we were notified this morning that Tacoma Power is starting a multi-day process to drop the discharge rate from La Grande Dam from 7,500 cubic feet per second to below 3,000 cubic feet per second. That probably will take several days through the weekend to achieve. The outlook for the weather, if you look outside right now, you may see sunshine. We are expected to have sunshine through the weekend. That's good news because that'll allow us to dry out before the next systems come in next week. For Medic One, we have, in the end of 2020, the last week of 2020, we were able to vaccinate 412 EMS providers across the county. The second dose is scheduled to take place the last week of January, and we're closely tracking those EMS providers to make sure that they get that second dose as well. They're part of the 1A group for vaccination. Other than that, that's been the focus of emergency services over the last several weeks.
Questions for Curt? Curt, I got a couple if nobody else does. Can you dial up a huge rainstorm on January 20th? That might be useful. But you're saying there is weather coming in next week.
Well, right now we have sunshine through the weekend. I look at the long-range weather models with a little bit of skepticism until they get in closer. So I can't promise you, but I like the way you think that I have control over the weather because I will start flipping switches and make sure it's sunny on the days I'm off.
My other question was about these categories, the minor flooding stage, moderate, major. Can you like describe those a little bit better?
Sure.
Like, when do we need to start really be worrying about major property damage and people being displaced and stuff?
So, and that's a great question because I'm going to give you a generic for each river. It's different. And if you go to our website, we actually have indications for each river, what minor, major, a minor, moderate, major flooding could impact for that river basin. But typically minor flooding is going to be what we call nuisance flooding, pasture land, water over roadways. Public Works is very familiar with that. But it's not doing any damage or impact that's lasting damage or impact, or from our models won't do that. Moderate increases that, and some structures and homes may be impacted with moderate. And then major flooding, obviously, you'll have significant impacts to residences, roads, other structures. So it's scaled along those ways. But if you go to the emergency management website on the county page, We have all the river gauges we have on Thurston County, and we also have up there what each river basin, what the minor, moderate, and major flood stages could equate to, so people can see it for their area.
Okay, good. So Nisqually last winter, for example, was major.
Correct. And it was major. And also we measure Nisqually through cubic feet per second, and minor flood stage for, or minor flooding for Nisqually River is at 8,000 cubic feet per second. It was at 7,500 on Tuesday. And I'm trying to remember my days here, and now it's dropping down. So, but we also have a notification process where we start notifying Nisqually River residents around 6,000 cubic feet per second. So they are aware of the situation.
Yeah, that's working well, I think. Thank you, Curt. Yeah.
Ty, could I ask Curt something?
Absolutely.
Curt, are you satisfied that Tacoma Power is on top of what's going on, and we did not even have the minor flooding on the Nisqually in the valley?
So we've been in constant communication with Tacoma Power, and originally they were going to increase the discharge rate from the Grand Dam to 8,000 cubic feet per second, which, as I mentioned earlier, is minor flooding and does have some impacts. We talked with them after we expressed some concerns. They listened to our concerns. They went back and revisited, and then decided to only raise it up to 7,500 cubic feet. So therefore, and keep it below the minor flood stage. So they are working with us. They are listening to us. We are we have communication lines open with them. So I'm fairly confident that we have a good working relationship, and we're going to continue to explore that, because I know there are some questions from yesterday that I'm following up with them so that I can get some answers back to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, that's where I was going. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Let's go to Pat O'Connor in Public Defense.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, commissioners. And welcome, Commissioner Mejia, to what I think us directors consider to be one of the best teams in Thurston County. And it's always enjoyable to have these meetings, because I think 2020 was indicative of how strong a team we are as department directors, leaning on each other. So, the update since we've last updated, at least from my perspective, is just closing out 2020, both obviously financially, this is our 13th month, but also emotionally for the office and for our staff. Just incredibly exhausting year. And I think maybe it was because I actually got out of the office for a couple of days and paused to think about how challenging last year was, also how successful it was in some areas, but just the toll it took on my staff, and just couldn't be prouder of how they performed their public service under really challenging circumstances. So hitting the restart button, as I know we all are, and renewed energy with staff as we head into this year. Have a lot of big opportunities in public defense in 21, but sort of right now the most pressing issues for us is we're dealing with a lockdown in the jail. I'm sure everyone's or most folks are aware of that. I know Shelley is, and I'm assuming the board is as well. Most recent update is that there will be no movement in the correctional facility for any in custody defendants until further notice. That's any visitations, any court movement, even video court. So that's taken up a lot of time this morning, but they're working with corrections, and I know they're working with public health and the strike force to see what our next steps are going to be. Hopefully, we'll get some relief by the end of the week, so my staff can get back into the jail and start seeing their clients. Later this afternoon, I know our Superior Court is meeting with Dr. Abdulmalik and perhaps Shelley, I'm not sure, to determine whether or not we're going to be able to start jury trials again in Superior Court for the public's benefit. We've suspended jury trials due to the pandemic, and our return to jury trial service was going to be on January 19th. It still is the expectation that we'll be able to conduct a Superior Court jury trial on the 19th. However, that's subject to change. I know there's a meeting later this afternoon to determine whether or not we need to pause jury trials again based on public health's recommendation. Internally, we've got a lot of new opportunities in 21, increasing our representations for some different populations we haven't served before, specifically with our juvenile population that are touched by the justice system and BECA hearings. So that's something our department's never done before. So we're really thrilled to help kids and that are youth at risk to provide them a direct representation. So really excited about that, and continuing to represent clients in the community that are facing involuntary treatment proceedings, the civil detainment proceedings, which for the public's benefit, to be frank, has just been exponentially growing in our community with different facilities opening up to meet the demands of that vulnerable population. So we'll continue to do that this year, and there may be some opportunities for expansion of those services as well. And then we're in the process of recruiting right now, really thrilled to have our first opportunity in our office to hire our first social worker that will be embedded within the department to meet the demands and needs of our clients and connect them to social services. So for the public's benefit, that's open and ongoing recruitment on the Thurston County Human Resources website, as well as a recruitment for a new defense attorney to replace a vacancy. So yeah, that's about it.
Speaking of that vacancy, I don't know if it's the same guy, but you guys may remember that one of our senior public defender, felony attorneys left to assume control of public defense in the San Juan Islands. And he's got pictures up on Facebook recently of the view from his new office, and it's a head shaker. You're just like, oh my God, so awesome.
Yeah, it is that vacancy. A long-time colleague is now the director of public defense in San Juan County, their first ever.
Nice.
And he texted me last Monday, or 2 Mondays ago, which was his first day. He's all excited. He's going to court to represent everyone who was arrested over the weekend in San Juan County, and nobody was arrested in all of San Juan County over the weekend. So.
Oh man. All right. Any other questions for Pat?
I do have a question for Mr. O'Connor, and I just want to know what, especially from your office, what the backlog looks like at this moment for you, for your office, and what your attorneys are having to deal with. I know with the pandemic, it's probably affected it a lot. We spoke a little bit with Superior Court about it, but I just wanted to see your perspective on the matter.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's sort of overwhelming, to be frank. And the backlog, which you're referring to, are the number of criminal cases that are pending in our justice system that are awaiting resolution or trial. I compartmentalize those into two populations: those that are detained in our correctional facility awaiting trial, and those that are out of custody awaiting trial. I don't have an exact number off the top of my head in all our disciplines, but there's just an enormous amount of cases due to COVID, and this isn't unique to us. This is statewide and nationwide. We're all struggling as justice stakeholders to come up with solutions. But we have hundreds and hundreds of cases and clients that are awaiting their day in court, so to speak. So, it's one step at a time. I think the most crucial step to addressing the backlog is having jury trials back. Jury trials in the criminal justice system are the bedrock of a justice system, not necessarily because every case goes to trial. Nationally, locally, less than 3% of all cases even go to trial. It's the finality of a case for both sides. And without that, with our inability to have that as the backstop for cases, that has, created the backlog. So, and it's not to mention all the cases that are not in the system that have been referred to the prosecuting attorney's office that are piling up as well. So I try not to get depressed about it. We try to stay optimistic and do the best we can for our clients. But I think the big condition precedent at this point is having jury trials back up and running when we can do so safely. And we just don't know just yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, Pat, for Commissioner Mejia's benefit, there's two backlogs, right? You just said it. There's the backlog that are filed cases that just aren't getting through the system. But then, according to the prosecutor, there's piles of referrals on his desk that haven't yet been filed. So that's a second backlog. And two of the positions that we authorized for Marianne, and maybe she can speak to this later, but we're in part designed to try to address that second part of the backlog.
We certainly need solutions. Yes.
I have one more question, Chair. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You spoke a little bit about the lockdown in jail, and you said that right now they're not having in video court. So what's going on with that? Is there any court at all, or just for out of custody cases?
So, Commissioner, it's very fluid. That was a change as of this morning, which was a change from yesterday, which was a change from Monday. So, as it stands right now, based on the direction of public health, according to corrections, as of this point in time, there was no movement in the jail, whether that's an individual that needs to come to in-person court on our campus or a video court in the jail, and that's due to public health's directive. At this point in time, we had that capability to come to video court and some movement in the jail yesterday, but that's changed as of today, as the jail is going through their testing protocols and awaiting results. And so I think we hope to, at least according to corrections, I don't want to speak too much for them, but I think they're hopeful that they'll have all their testing results back within the next 48 to 72 hours. And as those test results come back in, and I'm sure they're in constant consultation with public health on whether or not movement's going to be allowed or not. So it's incredibly fluid. That's where we stand now. I hope we're in a different position tomorrow, but and I know corrections does as well, but we're sort of taking it one step at a time.
Thank you.
Jennifer Walker, Public Works.
Good afternoon, everyone. So right now, our immediate attention is focused on the weather-related impacts that we've had. We had crews out last evening responding to downed trees. We have currently 16 roads that are closed, 6 of those as a result of water over the roadway, 10 because of downed trees, some of those in power lines. So we're certainly coordinating with emergency management and also Puget Sound Energy. Curt mentioned it, I think, a little bit earlier. Puget Sound Energy is deploying crews from, I think, outside of the area in. They are short on staff. In some respects, we are as well, because we had staff out last night, so they need to have some time off before they are able to come back. We are anticipating that the roads that are closed will be closed for a few hours. One, for those that have down power lines over them, waiting for Puget Sound Energy to be able to clear those. We also, actually, just before I was jumping on this call, our power went out, and I believe we're on backup generator. That's been going off and on. And so we are dealing with that. At the Waste and Recovery Center, they have been without power, and the internet is down. So we've sent out communication to use cash if you can. Expect that there potentially might be some delays through that. We are continuing to update our website and the travel impacts page. So if you're wanting to know which roads are closed, we have that information there. We aren't showing all of the roads that maybe have debris or a tree down on them. We're only showing at this point the roads that are actually closed. And we have crews actively out there trying to remove those. So just doing assessment, triage, and then responding to trying to clear. So that's kind of immediately what we're dealing with in terms of maybe this first quarter. We too are working on trying to get our performance evaluations done and finalizing our 2021 work plans for the year before, like all of you, we get ready to start our budget process for the upcoming year or two.
Questions for Jennifer?
Yes, Chair, I have a question.
Go for it, Greg.
And I don't want Commissioner Mejia to think, I can't see, what's going on, so I hope I'm not cutting anybody off. Jennifer, do you have any idea on that new holding pond that you folks built about, a year and a half ago down in Rochester, how that's holding up and if it's providing the adequate service or not?
I believe you're referring to Albany Pond, and I have not heard that it's not. So sometimes I go with no news is good news.
Sure.
But I can certainly follow up on it, but I have not heard that.
Don't worry. I just wondered if you had heard anything. So I agree. It's probably going okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, I'm trying to remember your department's organizational chart, and who is it that's under you that is responsible for our, these, the road crews that go out and deal with these situations? Who's next in line?
Lucy Mills.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Mills is the road operations manager. And then, we have now 2 road supervisors, Lane McAllister, and he started at the beginning of this year, Michael Lohman. So at this point, they're in the dispatch room and managing our crews from there.
Perfect. Anything else for Jennifer?
No questions
Yeah.
for me.
Okay, I'm going next to Maria Aponte, Human Resources.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've been taking a little time to reflect on our 2020 accomplishments. So there was a lot of, things that were going on that you are all well aware of. And while dealing with crunching numbers for furloughs, developing new policies, and processing many leave requests, we were able to accomplish 230 recruitments, 119 exceptions to the hiring freeze. We assisted in 28 interviews. We processed 108 new hires, 183 temporary hires, 64 internal promotions. We had 123 employees leave service with us. 36 of those retired. So I thought that was, kind of nice to look at those numbers and see. At times it feels like nothing got done, even though there wasn't a minute of the day that we weren't busy. And looking forward into this year, we have 3 contracts, collective bargaining contracts that expire. Those are with the sheriff deputies, the sheriff corrections deputies, and the captains. And we are currently negotiating with a new bargaining unit with the Superior Court security officers and with the Thurston County Sheriff's Administrative Support. And we're close, but it all boils down to wages. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the team might have.
Jump in, anybody. This is a very informal meeting. Anybody question for Maria?
Hey, Ty?
Yeah.
I'd just like to make a comment. Wow, that's quite an accomplishment, it sounds like to me. So
Yeah, We have a great HR team, and I appreciate all of the cooperation that all of you have shown and consideration for time, as well as calling, asking how you can help. It really made a difference during some pretty bleak times. So thank you all.
Maria, how many folks, I missed the number of folks that left county employee?
So we had 123 terminations, 36 retired. That's about an 11% workforce turnover rate, which is not too bad. Our average is about 10%, which is pretty good for the government.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Whether it was an unusually high or low number this year. Jennifer.
Maria, do you have that information per division or per department?
I'm working with Tara to crunch those numbers. As you know, our payroll system isn't real cooperative with us, but we are developing that information. When it comes to department or office departures, the numbers are much different because, you know, if you have 6 people like Gary Warnock and 1 person leaves, that's, you know, 25% turnover.
Right.
But we are working towards getting reports like that.
Okay, because I know I've asked my administrative services manager to start collecting some of that data. So obviously that entails her creating a spreadsheet to track that. But
that's
I figure
exactly what we've got, the spreadsheet.
right, because what you have are just the cumulative kind of roll up, right, of all of the departments and offices. So that's what I was asking. Okay, thank you.
Can I second Jennifer's request for, the data? I think it would be great to see it split up within each department. So thank you, Maria, for starting to work on that.
Sure.
Okay, next on my screen is Robin Campbell, our Assistant County Manager and Central Services and Budget and everything else.
All the odds and ends. So budget is already, the budget team's already working on the 2022 budget. We'll be bringing a draft calendar to the board, I think on January 21st. And we'll start the conversation about, would you like to go back to biennial or would you like to stick with the annual? So that's coming up already. We've hardly started 2021 and we're already looking at 2022. Central Services, we also are in the moment responding to the windstorm of last night. Our buildings held up pretty well. We're having an issue with a roof at Tilly, and Tilly is running on the generators off and on, but that's working well. And the other thing we're busy doing right now is securing PPE and providing that to the jail in response to the outbreak there, and making sure that they have the resources they need. Long term, we're looking at all of the projects that are going to be done this year on the buildings, and that'll be part of the planning session on the 29th as we look ahead to see how we manage space in the county buildings. Those are kind of the big things. Oh, and the legislature, with the legislative session open, we are now also spending a good deal of time reviewing bills. And I'll just ask my fellow directors to please, if you become aware of any legislation that you think might have cost, send it our way and we'll help to determine what the impact on the county will be. So those are the big things we're working on right now.
And I'd say not just cost, but something that would impact the way you do business. I mean, in a way that we should be aware of, that we might not think about. So cost or no cost. Any questions for Robin? Jennifer?
Not a question, but this is a good time to reiterate that when we out here on Tilly are on backup power, our heating system is not connected to the generator, just FYI.
I've talked to Jason about that. We're trying to think of what a good solution is.
She's cold.
It's cold. Right. We're aware. We're trying to think of some way to address that without bringing the generators to their knees.
Robin, I had a question about Building 5. I don't know if you have this information, but I thought the people that were in there were out of there like in October, but I was told, I had a meeting with Mary Hall. I was asking her about, this concept of moving, general government departments to Building 5. And I encouraged her to walk through. And then I saw it got scheduled, and I saw in the notes that Michael had said, you can only see the parts that are unoccupied or whatever. And that surprised me because I thought the building was available.
So the Twin Star Bank has moved out, but the prosecutor's office still occupies the second floor.
And the prosecutor's not going to let the auditor walk through the space?
Let's have a conversation offline about this.
Okay. Anybody else? Robin. Okay. Marianne. Pretrial services. Marianne, please.
Good afternoon. I wanted to thank the commissioners for the positions. I've been focusing a lot of time on recruitment. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. As you had mentioned earlier, I think it was both Patrick and you, Commissioner Menser, about the backlog of cases that we have in the courts, both Superior and District, as well as in the backlog of cases that the prosecuting attorney's office has that they have not even filed. We are focusing a lot of energy on our diversion program. I have done an internal promotion with one of my staff members, and she's been focusing a lot of her time and energy on best practices and meeting with other programs, not just here in our state, but working with the Center for Effective Public Policy, and has a meeting tomorrow with another local program down in Oregon who is working with the MacArthur Foundation. So we are doing a lot of research about best practices as we set up our pre-charge diversion. We've also met with our local partners, both Patrick's office and the prosecuting attorney's office. So we should be hopefully ready to go when we get those positions filled. Those 2 positions are posted. Last I looked, I had quite a few applications, but they close on the 20th of this month. And we have expanded the diversion program as it is to district court for the post-conviction and had our first person enter. We are looking at expanding pretrial services to district court. I have assigned a point of contact staff for my current senior staff there. We met with the leadership team during their judicial retreat last week, talked with the judicial officers, and have more detailed meetings set up with our key partners, with Patrick's office and the prosecuting attorney's office, to set up the process for that. And those positions closed, one yesterday and one tomorrow. I have interviews will be scheduled next week, and the panel is all set. So we should be good to go for that expansion. And with our APPR project, we have set up our performance measures work group and are beginning to look at our data. So we're starting to get very excited about that project. And our last meeting was the 6th. Was that last week? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that was last week.
Okay. Wow. So we had a really, really good meeting looking at current research about pretrial detention. I'm very grateful for everyone's participation, but specifically for law enforcement's participation. We've had the Sheriff's Office, the City of Olympia, the City of Lacey. They've been very active in our APPR process as well. And so I'm very grateful for that and the conversations that we've had there recently. And next month, we will likely not have our meeting because we have an opportunity to participate in sessions, training sessions to look at racial bias, some legal and evidence-based practices, and participate with the other 6 jurisdictions around the country that have been selected as research action sites. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity. And those are just the highlights.
Questions for Marianne? Marianne, the other 6 sites that are part of APPR, are they communities similarly sized to us, or is it a mix of like, you know, very urban places and rural? I mean, what is the, are there going to be, I'm just wondering about how easy it's going to be to compare data from different, or are they trying to get a mix, or is it, are they trying to pick sort of similar?
You know, I couldn't get a good read on how they were trying to pick their sites. I know one of the other sites is Pierce County, and there's Catawba County, Montgomery County, Fulton County.
Fulton County in Georgia?
Yes.
So that's, yeah, that's hyper urban.
Yes.
Okay, that tells me what I wanted to know.
And Pulaski, and there's one other. I don't know what the 7th one is, but I can find out for you.
I was just curious. I mean, like to say, it'd be, I could see value in both ways. True.
Their criteria wasn't necessarily based on size, but it was based on the collaborative nature of the jurisdiction, readiness to make changes, availability of data. Those were some of the criteria that they were looking for.
Good.
They had to interview us 3 times after we submitted our application just to make sure that we were ready to collaborate and had all of the data available. We passed the test.
Yeah, thank you. It's good stuff. Next on my screen is Josh Cummings, Community Planning and Economic Development.
Thank you, Chairman, sir.
Josh, I'm going to you don't get to give a list like Maria of accomplishments because you did that for me, and we've only got 15 minutes left in the meeting, and you would swallow that up with your impressive list that you showed me of what you guys did this last year.
Well, I'll just do the highlights. How about that?
That sounds good.
And first of all, I wanted to welcome Commissioner Mejia to this lunchtime meeting. One of the things I look forward to in the future is it's usually the prerogative of the chair to call on the director that's got the biggest mouthful of food. So I miss that part of this meeting. Look forward to that in the future. Makes it fun. 2020, 2020, in case anybody was wondering, was hard. But we did achieve many accomplishments. And one of the things I wanted to start with was an appreciation for these appreciation coins from the Board of County Commissioners and the leadership at Thurston County. I was able to give these out to the 75 or so members of the CPED team with a quick little note. And I've received notes back from many of them thanking us and the board for your recognition. So just be aware that the little things do matter and it's appreciated. I have a couple of other thank yous. The first one is to Dennis Osorio and his group in IT. The permit tracking system, as he mentioned, has been a long time coming. It's been a hiccup in our system for the past 5 or 10 years, depending upon who you ask. And last year we were able to get it funded, and the RFP now starting in this year, it's going to change the way we do business in our permit and planning in Thurston County. And we'll start to, again, work on those processes that have created a reputation of difficulty with our permit planning process. As the county manager sometimes relays, it's people, process, tools. Our people are amazing. Our tools and our process need some help. So we're working on the process and appreciate the work on the tools. And then I also like to say thank you to HR. That list that Maria provided of their accomplishments was impressive. And along with that, CPED was a number of those. And not only the hiring of people, but also the changing of process. Midway through, after the board allowed for the rehiring of, or the hiring of folks, we asked to work with HR and what's called PII blinding, personal identification information, so that we could start to remove some of the bias in the hiring process. And that HR and Wayne and Aaron were able to kind of turn on a dime on the way that we do our hiring process was really impactful. So appreciate that, Maria. And then here are the quick numbers, just so you have these in your head. Other than the community planning stuff where the board adopted accessory dwelling units, recycled asphalt, or Rochester sub-area plan, we also completed the acceptance of the habitat conservation plan and have begun the land acquisition strategy to get the land that will feed the future HCP. In terms of our permitting group, the BDC, the Building Development Center that you walk into right next to room 280, in 2019, we estimated they had about a little over 16,000 interactions with citizens, and that also includes emails and telephone calls. In the year 2020, when everybody was at home and had nothing else to do for a period of time, things went virtual, and we had drop boxes and phone calls and emails, and that 16,000 went from 2019 went from 16,000 up to, we're estimating, 20,800. So when things got locked down, people decided they wanted to do projects, or at least ask questions about those projects. 20,800 is a lot of citizen interactions for between 3 and 5 people in 1 year. So I just wanted to highlight that as a really huge success. And then also, I'd like to say, I'm not sure if anybody's heard of e-inspections, but one of the things that we've been piloting over the past couple of years is e-inspections, where our building reviewers go out on site and they usually look at like footings or other items. What we've been trying to do is do that electronically. In 2019, we had a pilot program where we allowed folks, builders, to be proactive and access that. We had 15 takers in e-inspections in 2019. In 2020, the e-inspection count that we had participatory was 996. So from 15 to nearly 1,000. I'm not sure if Commissioner Edwards has any questions on that, but that's a huge success, and wanted to appreciate all the work that's gone into that and the support from leadership. The last thing I'd say is thank you to Maria. There's a book that she provided our group called Trauma Stewardship. And not to get too heavy and always want to be the optimist, but I can hear it in some of our voices. This is going to continue to be difficult. And our people interact with citizens on a daily basis. And finding a way to not just slough those emotions under the carpet, but actually address them and figure out how we can work through them so our teams can continue to be productive. People are on a knife's edge, and people that get permits and plans aren't happy to talk to us in the first place. And that trauma, that ongoing frustration, can lead to burnout. And if we have burnout, then we're not going to have people doing their jobs. So I'm in the process of reading that book for Maria, Trauma Stewardship. I would potentially recommend it to other folks that have interactions with citizens that might be ongoing difficult. And other than that, again, I would love to have another Makoni sandwich. They're fantastic.
Questions for Josh?
I don't have a question, Ty, but I do have a comment.
Yep.
Josh, I just want to thank you for that 996 or whatever the number you've jumped up to. You know, in the real world, you guys have all heard me say time is money. But boy, there's a lot of time related to monetary savings for the taxpayers on that. At some point, it'd be kind of nice to be able to brag about that, have a actual somewhat of a dollar amount to talk about what we saved by going into that program. Sure. No, not as a assignment or anything, just kind of rough, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, you know, going forward, that we were able to build the groundwork, we were able to launch when it was necessary. So finding that financial part, I think that's a good conversation to have.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're down to about 7 minutes left in our agenda. County Manager, Miro.
I'm just going to be brief, just to give the commissioners the time maybe to say some closing comments. And my comments really is an appreciation to this fantastic Zoom screen of leaders. And all of us can attest to the fact that 2020 has been difficult, tasking, but we have overcome. And I continue to believe the adaptive management is what has taken us through 2020. And you are the model of adaptive management. So I appreciate your patience as we learn how the pandemic was hitting us here internally and externally. We didn't have all the answers. We shifted gears here and there. So I really appreciate your patience, cooperation, and support. And as we move in 2021, I believe that we're going to be landing out of this pandemic, but I also believe we're going to be landing on a different place. And landing in a different place is going to create another set of opportunities. And I do believe, again, that with leadership, we're going to make the best out of those opportunities to continue to provide great services to our citizens. So thank you.
Any comments or questions for Miro? If not, I'll move to Commissioner Edwards. Any closing comments, Commissioner?
Yes, sir. I made mention to a couple of the directors in their particular areas, but I want everybody to realize, okay, I'm speaking for myself, I guess. It's been a very tough year for all of you, and how much you are all appreciated in all your efforts. I mean, it is exceptional what you've been able to accomplish, and just to keep your head above water is just plain amazing. And as we move forward, we don't know where we're going to end up on this whole COVID thing yet. So for all your employees, I would surely encourage them to be safe, but think about their overall health, because I think that's going to help them survive this situation that we're in, and their families, because they care about their families, to help us get through this, because there's still a lot of unknown that's coming. And that's just it. Unknown is unknown. We just don't know what we don't know. So be safe out there and keep up the good work. But just thank you very much.
Commissioner Mejia.
Yeah, I just want to just say thank you to all of you, just for being so, as Ramiro stated, so adaptive. You've definitely adapted throughout a pandemic, teleworking, having many employees probably, adapt to their schedules due to childcare and teaching from home. So thank you for that. I mean, the citizens and the employees, I know, appreciate your leadership during this time. And I know this year just started and we're already having our road bumps with flooding and windstorms. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate everything you do for Thurston County. Thank you.
Questions for the new commissioner? We didn't do an icebreaker. I know Hutch didn't used to do an icebreaker sometimes. We have to do that again. We should have at least grilled the new commissioner, maybe next month. Okay. Well, I just will echo the thanks of my colleagues, but, and just, we have, in terms of a report, from my sitting in my chair, I spent 2 years learning this job, and a lot of what we do is outside of the county. So one of the things that's changed for me is as the role shifted and the chair landed on my desk, that meant that a lot of the committee assignments had to shift. So my world is kind of shifting. I was very active with Intercity Transit, Clean Air Agency, Regional Planning Council, the Animal Services Board, and I have a whole new set of boards. So new things for me to learn and get involved in. but that's exciting too. I will have the opportunity to address the chamber on Tuesday as a chair on the state of the community, and just kind of as wrapping up this point, I'm going to be very proud to report on what Thurston County's done over the last year and all the different challenges. I was just trying to list them out. I was just trying to write an outline this morning for these remarks, and just kind of like what I was teasing Josh about. I mean, when you look at what we've done in 2020 and the conditions in which we did it, I think we have a lot to be proud of. And yeah, and I think what I'm most, if the pandemic has a silver lining, kind of what Ramiro was alluding to, it shook up thinking, and it shook up old ways of just patterns of this is the way we always do it. So, your youth and creativity will have a chance to shine, I think, as we forge a path forward, whether it's, how we manage our workforce and how we manage space and meet the needs of the citizens using technology. E-inspection is an example of that. And we have the board is moving forward. We moved forward with as many things as we could. We're trying to be responsible about the money at hand, but we are doing the big software upgrades and systems upgrades. We did not, and we're expanding. We're doing our criminal justice things, the LEAD program and Marianne's expansion. And I mean, we try, and there's a lot of things going on with projects, public works projects. I won't mention the sand shed, but there's a lot of other, even really popular projects that we're moving forward on, and the solid waste and whatnot. So I just think there's a lot going on, and I'm excited about, put your brain power to thinking of new ways of doing things, and we'll all collaborate and make things, where we land, as Ramiro said, will even be better. We'll be in a better place than we would have been. We'll use this pandemic to our advantage. So thanks, everybody. 1 o'clock on the dot. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.